Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is Money Monday, and I'm so excited to join you again today. This is Executive Pastor Tawana Grant. We are excited about the learning series that we are in today and throughout the rest of this month, and probably through September as well. This is going to help you. This is leadership development and some of the areas that you, as the business leader, entrepreneur, innovator, ministry leader, some of the ways that we can level set ourselves so that we financially impact our business in a positive way. Know that you are the brand. And so what you bring to the table matters. So we're getting ready for our lunchtime learning today. As we go into a new topic, we're going to be talking about how do you delegate effectively. Listen, there is a method to the madness. I know it's busy days, lots of things to get done, but there is a way that you can task it in such a way that others become willing hands and ensuring that you are successful. So get ready. Go ahead and like and share. We're on the Juice Radio and Talk Show, and we are ready for Money Monday. Get ready.
Welcome to the Juice Radio Talk Show. 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 Reality TV, church reviews. Let's talk happy love and marriage lifestyle. Come and talk with us. Come and share with us. Come and laugh with us. Come on and pray with us.
Regina Cole is a special guest. You should be following your lead. Bless. Subscribe on YouTube. Listen on podcasts. We live on IG and Facebook. This episode is sponsored by Truth and Triumph Ministries.
It's time for lunchtime learning. I'm Executive Pastor Tawana Grant. We're so excited today as we continue in our leadership development series. Listen, you matter. And what you do as a leader, entrepreneur, business owner, innovator, pastoral leader, it matters. When how you show up. I tell people all the time, you choose how you show up. And how you show up matters. It influences and impacts your money and your bottom line. So yes, this is Money Monday, but we are also talking about how you as a leader can impact and influence the money and the investment for long-term growth. And so today what we're really talking about delegating tasks. I know a lot of times as maybe the CEO or the founder, we feel as though most of the things have to rely on us, but there is a way that we can task so that we can get farther and we can do it more efficiently. I've always said that you can go fast by yourself, but you can go further with a collaborative team. And so when you go together, you have to recognize that everybody on the team brings a skill set that can be useful. And so you have to look at that from that particular posture is that I'm not doing this alone. What do they say? A man that's not having people follow them is just a person taking a walk. But if you are leading, then you are leading others. And it's so important for us to drive and to steer the ship from that perspective that I am leading others along the way, along the journey. I'm not taking the journey alone. I'm not going to get there by myself. It's going to take the strength and the help of the collaborative team. And so this is just another way as a leader that you can posture yourself and think through that lens of collaboration. Think through that lens of delegation. So delegation is very key, very key. So I'm grateful for all of those of you who are joining us via Facebook Live. You're joining us on Twitter. And so we're joining us on all of the other platforms that we are allowed to share this information with the Juice Radio and Talk Show. I am just excited because we're helping leaders win. And so we want to continue in the lane today of talking about another tool, another skill set that you can put in your toolbox so that you can perform at your highest level of excellence. We're talking about going to another level. And so one of those things is understanding how key and important it is to be able to delegate. Listen again, you cannot do everything on your own. And so it's very important that as we learn how to delegate, that we assess, right? You want to assess the skill set of those that you have on your team. And you want to understand what can be delegated and what are the things that only you should or have the capability to do. Whether there are those that you need to maybe grow in certain areas of capability so that they can help even more. And so these are some of the things we want to talk about today. So I just have 6 key points, right? 6 key points that we're going to talk about today for our lunchtime learning real quick so that you can glean from the information. Some of these you may already know, but some of these you may want to sit in and understand, right? Where you get to the point where you can make sure that you are evaluating appropriately, not from your past experience. We talked about that as a leader. We got to heal. We got to get ourselves healed. Listen, it is a journey. It's not a sprint. And so as we go along in leadership, we grow, we learn, we evolve. And so we become a better person today than we were yesterday. And so some of those things that we may have done, we did it in that manner because that's what we understood. And I love what Dr. Walker says, whatever you sit under, that's what you understand. But now as you sit under Money Monday and you are getting more information, now you can expand your purview and have a different set of information in which you can choose from and leverage. And so point number one is, how do y'all understand the importance of delegation? That's what we've been talking about. Delegation increases your productivity and it helps you with efficiency. Single-threaded operations are limited in the amount of effectiveness and production they can improve upon. When you are single-threaded, only one person is doing everything, you make it difficult in order to advance and expand and grow your ministry, grow your business, grow your team when everything is single-threaded. So I always talk about, know that delegation is important. Know that it develops your team, their skills, and even their confidence. When you delegate, you give now the confidence to your team that there's an expected level that you have for them and their ability to deliver. You increase their confidence that they can do it because you have now given them a torch, given them a responsibility, given them an accountability that used to be yours. And so therefore they can see now, okay, they see something in me. And so when you allow them the opportunity to support, especially in areas that they already have experience in, but maybe have not leveraged that in your business, this gives them an opportunity to shine. Most people who are joined to our organization or our team, they're with the mission and vision. Now, how do we sync up all the skill sets and connect them in a way that is most efficient and effective for us to win? The next thing, it frees you up as a leader. It frees up time for you to do the critical tasks that only you can do. And so there are going to be tasks for a leader that only you can do. There's some things around administration, and there's some things around having the right lens and attention to that you need to do. You need to have the purview because you're the captain in the cockpit. Everybody doesn't have the view that you have. Everybody doesn't have the vision or clarity or understanding that you have. And so there's some things that only you can do, and we'll talk about that later in our other points. And then also it enhances the team morale. The team start to feel cohesive. They start to trust one another. They start to evolve into a well-oiled machine. And when we have the collective agreement of all the team members operating to their very best capacities toward the same common goal. And so when we operate from that perspective that we're not doing everything and we're not the only person with an idea or concept or a vision, they can feel a part of the experience and not just an observer. We don't want a team full of observers. We want a team full of willing hands that can help us get the work done. And so that's why delegation is so important, because you can go farther with the collaboration of the team. Second point is understanding when to delegate. You have to know when to delegate. You don't want to be a roadblock. You don't want to be the stumbling block for work getting done. And so one of those things is identify what is suitable for delegation. That's what we talked about. What is suitable? What are those things that other people can do because they have the right level of skill set or understanding so that it would be advantageous to you and not a hindrance? What is it that they can do? Can somebody else do the mail? Can somebody else do the follow-up calls? Can someone else help with looking at inventory? What are those things within your business that someone else can do that makes it more routine? What are those routine things that you do every day? And so sometimes maybe they may not know it the first time they do it, but it's such a habit that it's easy for someone to pick it up and do it every day for you instead of you doing it yourself. What are those tasks that they're more skilled at doing? So again, looking at your team and evaluating what skill sets do they have that maybe I haven't even tapped into. Sometimes your team is full of availability as far as helping the team grow, helping the ministry grow, helping the business grow, helping the venture grow, but you just haven't tapped into it. Sometimes that just takes a conversation. Sometimes it takes sitting around the table and maybe doing an icebreaker about what do you know how to do that I don't already know. And so sometimes through that conversation, some nuances evolve and come to the forefront that you say, wow, I had no idea. But because we've had this dialogue, this can help us in where we're going. And then another thing, you look at what's suitable. What are those tasks that don't require your direct involvement? There are plenty of tasks that do not require the CEO to participate in, but still the business can roll forward. And so then you have to look at what are those tasks that I know I need to retain, things that are critical to my organization. There's some tasks I just do not delegate, right? And there's some tasks that I delegate to specific skill sets. To specific characters, right? You got to remember that if you have a person who is contentious or have difficulty in communicating, that may not be the person you want to do your marketing. Because they're going to be meeting new people every day. They're going to be speaking on your behalf. They're going to be representing your brand. And so you have to be able to level set on what I should retain versus what I can give away. And then you have to have that continuous cycle of evaluating what you've distributed out to make sure, one, that they don't have any questions, two, that they're going in the right direction that you intended, three, if there's some follow-up or some shifts or pivots that you need to do, you need to stay close. You can't expect what you don't inspect. And so you need to detect where there might be constraints, detect where there might be some questions, right? And so sometimes you can't give everything away. Again, sometimes it might be confidential information. And so there might be some things for your organization that is not intended for the general population. And so those are the things that you as the business owner, entrepreneur, CEO, you need to retain ownership of those because you want to make sure that things are moving well and smoothly. We're talking about effectively delegating. So when you delegate, you want to know what you need to retain, the things that only you as the business owner, as the leader need to retain, and what can you delegate out to others to do. The next thing is really selecting the right person. Point number 3, selecting the right person. People matter. And so who you delegate out a role to, it also matters. And so when you look at that, we talked about assessing your skills and interest. Sometimes a person has great interest, but they don't have the skill set. And so there's opportunity where you as a leader need to evaluate, is this particular action so critical that interest and skill set has to mesh? Not only do you have to be interested, but you got to have the skill set to do it, or it could be crippling to the organization. Or does this particular task, interest is the highest thing. As long as you got an interest, I can train you how to do this because this is a non-critical area, but something that's necessary rather. And so you want to make sure that interest and ability matches depending on the task. And so again, you want to look at it, skill and interest. Are they collaborative for that particular task? Or can you have interest and then I teach you the skill? Because often I found it's easier for someone who has interest to teach them a skill than someone who has skill at it to try and encourage them to have interest. Oh my goodness. I found that to be quite complex. You can do it. But when they don't have a passion for it, when they don't have a desire for it, yeah, they skilled it. Yes, they've done it before. Yes, they could do it again. But when they don't have an interest in it, you spend a lot more cycle time and a lot more energy trying to encourage them to do something that they don't have any passion for. Passion is a motivator. And so that's why I said when people have an interest, they are motivated to learn how to do it well. They are motivated to learn and ensure that they're doing it to your expectations. So interest in some tasks is more important than skill. You can train some skill, but it's much more complex and difficult to give someone who has the skill, but a lack of passion, a lack of desire, and a lack of interest. So you have to think about that when you're delegating out the task. And the last thing, of course, as you're providing the task, give clear instructions. One of the difficulties that people have in keeping and maintaining their passion is that the instructions on how to do it wasn't clear. And so sometimes we can fall in that pattern of being critical of what we receive, but we were not proactive to ensure they understood what we expected. And so we have to be very careful of that as leaders, that we're key and clear on our expectations. So we're not critical about something we didn't explain when we get the results, okay? Point number 4, of course, communicating effectively. You as a leader, your communication has to be clear. You have to communicate effectively. You have to be able to know who you're operating with, communicate at the level for the hearer, not for you as the speaker. You want to make sure that the listener hears what you're saying and the messaging is clear to them. So be very specific about the task, be very specific about the objective, and be very specific about the expected results. People perform better and is much more effective and smoothly when they know, what are my results? What are you looking for at the end of this? What are you expecting? What are you looking for? So that I can perform at the level of expectation and I can be proud of what I deliver. Nobody wants to finish something and turn it in and they're not proud of it. And so we as the leader, as the person who is responsible for the totality of the organization, we have to ensure that not only are we clear, but remember, sometimes our messaging is going through another layer. Sometimes I'm speaking oftentimes to a manager who then has to give my message out to the team. And so if I'm not clear to the manager, if I'm not clear to the supervisor, if I'm not clear to the executive who's running it on my behalf, if I'm not clear to the program manager, then it's very hard for them to be clear to the people who are going to execute. And so you have to be aware that your messaging has to be clear to your senior team so that then they can take a clear message back to the team who's executing. So make sure. One thing you also want to make sure is that you define milestones, define objectives, give deadlines. I found this, break it up in sizable chunks so that as you communicate, they know what is my expectation. Know this, it's very difficult to give people an expectation that in 6 months, I want this done, but you've not broken it up in iterative pieces so that you can track and they can track. Not only does it help you as the leader, it helps the people who are doing the work to know, okay, we're getting off our timeline. And so that you're able to make corrective measures, make corrective decisions, you're able to pivot before the date is due, before the major milestone, before you have to go to the next and find out that this wasn't done to capacity or to the degree that you expected. You've got to have those kind of deadlines and milestones all along the way so that you are tracking progress. Many of the efforts that I've done as a business owner, as a manager in the corporate marketplace are years worth of effort. We're not starting something today and expecting it to finish tomorrow. I'm talking about 2 and 3 and 4 year projects that I've worked on. And so what we've had to do is break it up into milestones so that I can track progress. Because believe me, if I don't hit what should be done in 6 months, I'm not going to hit what should be done in a year. There are times when you have to catch up. You have to pick up the pace. And so I've got to know as soon as possible if something is off track, as soon as possible. If there's a delay, as soon as possible. If we hit a roadblock. Because one of the jobs that we do as the leader is we resolve roadblocks. We remove them. We help when there's areas of constraint. How do I improve the effectiveness of the people who are actually executing on the work? That's our role as the leader. And so you've got to be communicating. You've got to be able to set expectations. And then you also got to make sure that you're providing the necessary resources, right? When you know people's skill level and you know that they may need additional support to get things done, you have to give them the help to get it done and get it done well. We cannot set people up to fail. Our goal as the leaders is to ensure that they have the resources and support they needed in order to complete it well. And so that's one of the points that we have to hone in as a leader in our communication. What do you need? Do you have the resources? Is the time that I've allocated and I assume would be a fair amount of time to finish, is it appropriate? Because sometimes my team has to come back to me and they say, listen, you said, Pastor or your manager, you're saying I can do this in 3 months. No, when I look at all the things that we have to do, this is really a 5-month job. This is really a 5-week job. This is really a whole week job, not today. And so those are the kind of conversations and communications we're talking about. Point number 4, effectively communicating. Those are the kind of conversations that we have to have as a leader. And we talked about last week, as a leader, you have got to be able to listen to the people that you operate with. And you have to be willing to take constructive feedback because we're not always right. So even in our estimation of what skill set is needed, of what time is needed, there are others who may have more experience who can also lend their voice in it and say, listen, that is not a good expectation. That's not a good estimate. Here's what I've seen. And maybe they have another experience that gives fruit, gives evidence that you might need to put in you some more contingency time, or you might need to add in additional resource and allocation to help get the work done. It is to our advantage to listen and to take heed. When you're communicating, communication is a two-way street. It's not always us just disseminating out the instructions and disseminating out what we expect. We've got to be able to listen back to the people who are doing the work, to the people who have joined hands with us, to the people who are helping us get it done, to the people who are responsible for the end results along with us. Yes, we have the overall responsibility, but they have a part to play. And so it's so important that we listen to them in communication. Again, communication is two ways, not one. If you're just doing one-way communication, you have a monologue, not a dialogue. And so you want to communicate with your team, right? And so the fifth point we want to talk about is monitoring and providing feedback. We've been talking about that all along through today's conversation. Monitoring and providing feedback is so important because you have to track progress. You have to see where you are. Set up regular check-ins. I do check-ins on a team level as well as an individual level. On a team level as well as an individual level. Because what people might say offline individually may give you more transparency than they would in an open forum with all the teams, all the team members there. They may be a little quiet. But I can tell you, when you have a trusting relationship and you have your one-off conversations with your key staff members, they will give you some transparency and some feedback into what's really happening, so that you, as the senior leader, as the person who's responsible, can then make a good decision from a posture of information. You don't want to be single-threaded in your information also. Oh my goodness, especially if you have a person that you normally go to and you get their advice. There's nothing wrong with that. But the collaborative lenses of multiple people, the Bible talks about in the company of many, there's safety. So in the council. And so when you listen to the voice of others who have experience, they're knowledgeable, they're on the same path as you, they want you to win, and you're taking that advice from that type of a vessel who's coming to support and to help, it can be a help and a strength to you. Listen to wise counsel. And so you want to track the progress again, adjust the support, adjust the resources as you need it based on the feedback you're getting back, based on where you're tracking. Okay, you're tracking behind. Looks like I need to add another resource to help you catch up, because when we get to our next milestone, we need to be able to hit it well. And so you might want to have that kind of conversation to understand, who do you need to involve? Who do you need to bring in? Offering constructive feedback. You as the leader, I know sometimes we don't like to. Listen, you should not hire anybody you cannot give constructive feedback to. You chain yourself. You make it difficult. You restrain your hands in order to move your vision forward when you feel like I cannot add feedback and give constructive feedback to my own team that I've hired and I'm paying for, okay, or the own team that I'm responsible for leading. I need to be able to add content. I need to be able to add constructive feedback. I'm not saying to oppress. I'm saying constructive feedback to lift up, to take us to another level, to be more effective, to be more efficient, to operate well together, to achieve our goals, to reach our milestones, to provide that type of constructive feedback and criticism that we want to improve, that it gives inspiration. That's the kind of feedback a leader gives. A leader gives normally, I always start off with what is going well. Thank you for doing this well. Thank you. I've seen us hit our targets. Thank you. I've seen us reach out and do different market areas. Thank you. I've seen how we have engaged with each other and given that kind of positive feedback about what's going well. And then let's talk about, here's some areas where I see we need to improve. Here's some areas where I've seen we didn't collaborate on. Here's some areas I see where we didn't communicate the way we should have. That would have been prevented. Here's some areas I see where we can mitigate with our clients from seeing this type of post check. And so always from a posture of positivity, because this is where we want to go, because we want a right step, because we're going to another level. We need to pivot in this area because it's causing more churn than it is good results. And so you explain, and you deliver, and you communicate as you're tracking progress, okay? And then as you're giving constructive feedback. And then lastly, handling challenges and making adjustment. Listen, I don't care what type of line of business you're in, what you're operating, whether you're a consultant, you're a single consultant in your own business, whether you have a large organization, whether you have small businesses, where you're operating with a ministry, whatever business you are in, where it includes operating with and on behalf of people, you're going to have some challenges because it's human nature. We are different. We're going to think different. We're going to have different experiences. We're going to have different mindsets. We have different ways of communicating. We have different ways of understanding. And so it naturally lends to itself that you're going to have to make some difficult decisions. You're going to have some crucial conversations. That's what I call them. They're crucial. They're crucial to your business. They're crucial to your brand. They're crucial to where you want to go. And so they are necessary. You cannot waver in having crucial conversations. The longer you hold it out, in most instances, the worse it's going to get. And so you have to be able to have and handle and make adjustments. We talked about that before. Relationship matters. Your network is your net worth. And so managing those relationships are complex for leaders. And that's why we're having these conversations, because it matters in your money. It matters how they operate. It matters how you operate. It matters how you engage. And so when you are having challenges and needing to make adjustments, you want to think about, what is the common challenge? What is the thread in the organization? Is it something around performance? Is it inadequate performance? Is it missed deadlines? Is it communication breakdowns? Is it resistance to delegation? There's normally a common thread when you see that there are pockets and areas of contention and constraint. And so that's where you as a leader would come in and get clarity and understand. Sometimes it is a human part that needs correction. Sometimes we need to have solutions that address their professional attitude, sometimes making sure that they have an adequate understanding of your ways of operation. What is the expectation of the mission and vision? Sometimes there's just an understanding of that. Sometimes it is a understanding on training, maybe some of the missteps or the mishaps or resistance or not meeting deadlines could be we don't understand exactly how things need to get done or when things need to be handed off, or how to engage with all the teams or our vendors or our partners. So sometimes training can address that, right, to solution it, or adding additional resources that we talk about. Sometimes we have so much on that particular team, and as you expand and grow your business, you got to sometimes increase allocation. You need more help. You just can't continue to add demand without ensuring you have the right resources to meet it. And so sometimes that's necessary. Also, sometimes with delegation, you got to look and see, did I delegate that to the right person? Is my delegated party posturing from the way that I would? Are they operating on my behalf in the manner in which others are well receiving it? Am I getting the right feedback? And that's why I said it's important not only to have the collaborative team meetings where we're discussing things and we're putting things out on the table, asking the right questions, ask the right questions in the meetings. Because sometimes you got to remember, we talked about this in many series back, you have your quiet people, but they're very important and they have information to share. So sometimes you have to poll. You have to make sure that they recognize that we want to hear their voice. And so sometimes the loud people overtalk the quiet people. And so they start to command the whole conversation, but you got to make sure that you're reaching everyone so that everybody has an opportunity to share. And then definitely don't forget the one-off conversations, because there's a level of transparency that's going to come in the one-off conversations that you would not get in an open forum. And so it is necessary to do that. You might even consider, if you want to do a survey, anonymous survey, there are a lot of tools, software tools that you can use to send out if you just want to poll your team. Listen, I just want to do a pulse check. That's what we call them now. I want to do a pulse check. I want to do a health check. I want to make sure everybody is okay. I want to understand, is there any needs there? And while I've done this before, while I've asked that in an open forum, everybody said fine. While we've done that in individual offline conversations, everybody's fine. Sometimes it's good to just do it as an anonymous poll, because then you also gain some transparency into what's happening. So rest assured, handling and meeting challenges head on is just a part of being a leader. It is normal. It is a natural course of engaging people together on a collaborative effort. But you have to learn as a leader how to address it, how to come to it with empathy and compassion, how to ensure that you are making the necessary adjustment. Listen, all our lives, we're going to be fine tuning. As your business grow, as your ministry grow, as your vision grow, you're going to be fine tuning all along because you want it to expand. You want to nurture it. You want to grow it. And so you as a leader have to know how to fine tune yourself. What are the areas even within us as a leader that we need to fine tune, that we need to hone in on, that we need to become more confident in, that we need to ensure up. We need to ensure that we show up well. You choose how you show up. And so we hope today that you've gleaned from today's lesson as we talked about how to delegate tasks effectively. There's a way to do it. There's a way that's sure that will always lead you to a win. And so today, we thank you for joining us on the Juice Radio Talk Show. We hope that you will subscribe, that you will like and share on today our Money Monday series as we continue in leadership development. Know this, we are building leaders to last. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Executive Pastor Tawana Grant. I look forward to seeing you on next week. Peace and blessings.
Hello, everyone. Now, we do have some special announcements to make because Pastor Grant has two great platforms that she's also on, and we want you to be aware of those. Now, this is the first one. It is Gospel Talks Live. And this is with Miss Almisha Warren. She has a great platform. You can watch this live on Thursday nights at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as Gospel Talk Live on Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. So make sure that you guys tune in. You can just type in on YouTube, Gospel Talks Live. Thank you so much, Pastor Grant. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, you guys.
Thank you. Peace and blessings.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Juice Radio and Talk Show. Listen, we've got a great announcement to make. Miss Hedda Rose is going to be coming live over here in Marietta, Georgia on September 20th, 2024 at 8 p.m. You guys, this is going to be a wonderful, wonderful experience. She is doing a tribute to Diana Ross, and you guys are not going to want to miss this. Now, you can pick up your tickets. You can go ahead and get them in advance. Go ahead and email heddarosemgt@gmail.com, or feel free to call Charles Ford at 571-281-9716. This event is going to take place at the Perfect Note in Atlanta at 3000 Windy Hill Road, Southeast Suite 116 in Marietta, Georgia, 30067. This is going to be wonderful, you guys. Please come out and support this beautiful, amazing artist. She has sounds and vocals like you probably have not heard before. And for her to be doing a tribute, you guys, to the wonderful Diana Ross. Y'all are going to want to hear this beautiful artist. Come on out on September 20th at 8 p.m. and join this whole Hedda Rose experience as she pays tribute to the great Diana Ross.
To grab our minds, but they couldn't grab our spirit. From birth, we did always know we gifted. Strangers in a foreign land. Some things we couldn't understand. My auntie said, watch about the mother jealous. Soon as you take off all the